Welcome to Play Pause Turn. In this podcast we discuss all things to do with TV, films, games and literature. We give our thoughts on the media we've been enjoying, old and new, and comment on anything topical. Our hosts today are Amy, Mark, Bobby and myself, Alex. Now to start off with, we're going to have an intro question to kind of break the ice and understand a little bit about our hosts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with Amy. And the question this week is, out of the cast of Ghostbusters from any film, which one would you describe yourself as and why?
I'm going to go old school. I'm going to say that I would love to be Dana Barrett, just swanning around and just being fab. But I suspect I'm probably more Lewis Tully because I'm very eager to please. Bizarre situations, quite frankly, tend to just find me and I'm pretty hapless. So yeah, Lewis Tully.
Fair enough. Good. Mark?
So I would love to say that I'm Venkman because he's my favourite in the series. But I'll say I was Venkman because I'm not as fun as I think I am and not as smart as most people as well. But let's face it, I'm a bit overweight, I'm a bit old and I eat a lot. So I'm probably Slimer more than Venkman as well. I'd love to be Venkman, but let's be honest, I'm Slimer.
Oh, I don't know about that. We'll talk about it later, but there's a new one, isn't there?
There is a new one, yes.
There's a new one. Right, okay.
I'm not sure, Mark, but I'm not sure if that's an insult or not. We'll find out later.
A little bit.
Fair enough. Bobby, welcome. Who would you describe yourself as and why?
Well, I would immediately jump to Winston Zeddemore because I was black in it.
He's the coolest one as well.
He kind of is, actually. Growing up when I was a kid, obviously you wanted to be Venkman because he was the cool, smart. Smart. I'm trying not to. Is ARSE a swear word? Anyway, but no, it's fine. Okay, I've just been approved. So yeah, because he's the smart ass, right? And he was funny. But yeah, I think actually, if we were the Ghostbusters, I probably would be more Winston-like because I would be just a kind of bit more in the background, let you guys do most of the work, especially when the scary ghosts and stuff are racing around and, they've got to be trapped. I like to just kind of coordinate from the back and just, let everybody else get on with it. Just pitch in where needed. I'm not saying Winston's lazy, by the way, just in case Ernie Hudson ever listens to this.
I feel like Winston's the kind of person who comes in and asks the leading questions like, so you just rock up and make it up as you go? And everyone's kind of like, well, and you're like, sounds that way. It feels like that's the kind of question you would come back with. Are we sure this is the right way? Have we followed a procedure?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Devil's advocate.
I'll be at the back then. Fair enough. That sounds good.
Otherwise, I would love to, if I could choose who I would want to be, then I'd probably want to be the Keymaster. Then I get to nail the Gatekeeper if I've got that the right way around. Because Sigourney Weaver, back in 1980, whatever, she was smoking. She kind of still is, actually.
She still is, yeah.
She's aged very
still
well.
Excellent. That's the male chauvinist part of the podcast done. Excellent.
How is it male chauvinist? It's an appreciation of a woman even today in her later years who has aged like a fine wine, is still extremely attractive, very sexy. She was in an episode of Call My Agent on Netflix, and I would.
Good to know.
Okay.
Sigourney, if you're out there.
If you're listening to this as well,
give us
if you're ever in London,
yeah,
and you like someone who's generally very well dressed and all the rest of it. I hold doors open for people. I'm very polite.
This has gone very, very quickly from who would you be to who would you hump.
That's gone very quick, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
We should move on. I think we should move on.
Alex, who would you say that you're most like?
Well,
Well, his wife's here, Mark.
This would be a very strange podcast to talk about that. So yeah, I was going to go with Ray. I think he's kind of
I think you're right, Alex.
I feel like that's the kind of person I would probably be, and I love his shop. I want to find out more about his shop in the latest one, so that's good. Otherwise, if I had to pick a new character, I'm not sure I'm cool enough to be Gribson, but hey, I think the fact that he did the summer school and he was a bit of a chump when you looked at that piece, I thought I could relate to that. Sometimes just dial it in. Just I know it's work, but I've got better things to do. So anyway, that's me, and that's probably who I'd be. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off and give our thoughts about Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is obviously the latest installment of Ghostbusters. Now, to start this off, I thought it would be good to have a quick roundup of like your Ghostbusters knowledge. Where did you start from, and what's your favourite? Can we start with you, Mark?
Mm-hmm. So obviously, Ghostbusters 1 is my favourite because it's the first one and it's the best one by a long way. I first saw it, must have been on telly, I think, because it's 84 and it came out, I was only 5 then, so I don't think I didn't see it at the cinema or anything like that. I liked it because it really scared me as well. I can remember particularly the dogs really scaring me, and actually at the start in the public library, the old woman, that really scared me as well. And I think I was at the right age there where I enjoyed it, but it was also scary, and I like being scared. It was perfect age, I think, when I saw it. I must have been about 8 or 9 when I saw it as well. When I watched it again when I was a bit older, I then appreciated more of the jokes in it as well. So like Venkman with the machine, when he's only like doing it like to the hot girl and that sort of thing, I appreciate the humour more of it as well. And so yeah, I like everyone else, I think I absolutely fell in love with it the first time I saw it as well. And another thing I distinctly remember watching it the first time was when Dana is transformed into she's not the keymaster, is she? She's the gatekeeper, like the hat, the arms coming out the chair. That scared the crap out of me as well. So I do remember that as well. So yeah, but all in all, it scared me and entertained me, and I've just loved it ever since.
No, very good. Did you watch any of the animated series or comics?
The Real Ghostbusters as well, yes. I thoroughly enjoyed The Real Ghostbusters. That was on ITV about 3:30 or 4. Get back from school and The Real Ghostbusters was on, yes. That was actually a good series. And the cartoon series, actually, the comic of it was actually quite good as well. I used to buy, used to be a comic that was split between Ghostbusters and Transformers. So the first story would be the cartoon. The first story would be the Real Ghostbusters, and the second one would be Transformers as well. Very 80s comic, brilliant stuff. But yes, okay. My history in one.
Great, that's very good. Bobby,
that brought back some memories. I absolutely loved the film when I was a kid. I was probably again similar age to Mark, about 7 or 8 when I first saw it. It was probably on VHS. And it was that right mix of, kind of it being funny, but also being scared. I mean, again, the classic scene is the one in the library with the scary old lady and the books start flying off the shelves and the ectoplasm and stuff. It's an absolute classic. And I remember at school, me and my friends, we would be coming up with ways to trap ghosts. It's like, nicking teachers' ink cartridges out of their Parker pens and stuff because we were trying to save enough up to then, fill up water cannons with them because we figured that the ink, when it hit a ghost, we could then see the ghost and trap it and stuff. Amy's giving sort of, oh, bless, how simple-minded you were as a child.
I think it's cute.
Yeah, well, we didn't have computer games and stuff back then, so you had to do what you could. No. I was a massive fan of The Real Ghostbusters, the cartoon show. So I remember watching that religiously every other day it was on after school. I thought, that was absolutely brilliant. And Ghostbusters 2, I wasn't quite so keen on, but, you know, it's fine because you're in love with those characters. So, yeah, massive fan of the original, and I was really, really excited to see this film.
Very good. Oh, very cool. Amy, you have some stories to tell, I think.
Well, so basically grounding here. I'm a member of the UK Ghostbusters, and I'm also a member of the East Anglia Ghostbusters. There are a lot of certified Ghostbuster groups around the world, and it's very lovely because we are one of the organisations that gets invited to come to conventions. We get invited to do the New Year's Day parade in London and that sort of thing. So it's fab. It's really good fun. So in terms of me, I have a question, Bobby.
Can I join?
Well, there are uniform requirements, so if you meet the uniform requirements, then absolutely. But being a fabulous tailor,
I can make a uniform.
That's it. I'm sure you could whip it all up together.
So I need a costume, and then I can join.
You need a uniform. You need a uniform, and then you can join.
What, as in a uniform like a Ghostbusters uniform?
The suit.
A Ghostbusters.
I'm Googling it now.
I'm on it. Yeah, let's do this. Oh my god, how have I got my whole life and not known? Sorry, Amy, continue.
I know, right? Much like everybody here, came to Ghostbusters through watching it, probably on VHS, and then Ghostbusters 2, I remember it was on VHS, but it was in that slightly bigger VHS box, it's probably ex-rental. So we had that. And then went to uni and still quite enjoyed the Ghostbuster film, loved watching real Ghostbusters. And then I think after I left uni, we went to some big Comic Con type thing in Wales, can't remember the name of it, Sci-Fi Weekender, and I bought a really bashed up old proton pack from somebody, and I put together a costume that was Ghostbusters, but it was Elsa from Frozen, called Ghostbust Elsa. And I had quite a few people coming up to me going, "Oh, that's a really good cosplay, you're like a female Egon from the real Ghostbusters." I said, "No, I'm Ghostbust Elsa," and then they realised, and that was quite good fun. And when I was there, the UK Ghostbusters had a stall, and I said, "Can I be one of you?" And they're like, "Yeah, get your uniform sorted and come along." So that's how that all happened. I quite enjoyed the reboot, the 2016 reboot.
Oh.
I don't think it was the most awful thing in the world, but what was upsetting is going to conventions in my 2016 uniform and people actively feeling happy with coming up to me and opening conversation with, "Oh, I hated that film," and then willingly spending time telling me why that was such an awful film. And I've never been part of any fandom where people felt happy going up to someone going, "Yeah, I hate the thing you like," which I found really weird. But that does show the venomous hatred that a lot of people had for it. And I absolutely loved the one that's just come out. I loved Afterlife. I thought it was absolutely perfect for fans.
Oh, that's really good. So I think my background is actually quite similar to Mark's in that I saw the first one on TV. Grew up with the animated series, and really I've watched obviously 2 and the reboot as well, and now the latest one. Now, Amy, for the benefit of our listeners who won't see this, what are you holding up?
I'm cuddling my ghost trap, Alex. I have a ghost trap, and my brother-in-law is currently 3D printing me a brand new pack, which won't be as incredibly heavy as my wood-based one that I did have, and it's going to make sounds and have lights, and I'm very excited. But yes, I'm easy to buy for because I just like Ghostbusters stuff.
That's fair enough to me. Yeah.
I think the other two are speechless.
No, that's so cool. I'm actually.
I did have the action figures when I was a kid.
Yeah, I had.
Cool.
Yeah, I had the real Ghostbusters ones. Yeah, I think I had them all. Yeah, I did have them all. Yeah.
Nice.
And the toys where you squeeze the back and the mouth, like there's a postman where the stomach would drop down to a big mouth.
Yeah, and you could get ones with goo coming out as well, which is really good.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Loved it.
So I think it's fair to say that, you know, we're fans of the Ghostbusters series. So we're coming from a position of knowledge and appreciation, not just skepticism. So I think that's good. Before we get into spoilers, and before we kind of kick off anyone who hasn't seen it already and tell them to go and see it, how would we describe in a non-spoilery way. Bobby, how would you describe the film?
I would say it's a love letter to the original, and it's a it's a kind of nostalgic reimagining of a loved. Oh wow!
That is so
Amy
cool.
Amy's got her Ghostbusters costume there, and she's flashing it around for us.
It's one of 4 uniforms I have.
That is so
Oh
cool.
my god!
I'm going to stop now. I'm going to stop showing my stuff. Normally it's Bobby shows all of his toys at the camera, but today it's me. Sorry, everyone. Carry on.
Yeah.
So a love letter is a good way of describing it.
I think a love letter to the original.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of summing it up. Mark?
I go along with what Bob said, really, to be honest. I thought it was a lovely homage to it as well. It was... I don't think it was complete fan service, but it did things that I think that everyone wanted and have been asking for since the second one came out, really. And we'll get more into spoilers later on. I really enjoyed it as well, same as Amy. I've got a couple of gripes with it, but nothing particularly major. And actually, in fact, what I will say actually is I really like the new characters, and we're going to talk about them in a minute. But no, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. It was it's one of those that I could probably. It's one of those films I could probably put on any time that I want, and I watch it. I think it's got a very much a rewatchable value to it as well, which a lot of films don't have now as well. But no, I loved it, and as a fan, it did what I wanted to do. A couple of gripes, which we'll get into, but overall, I really enjoyed it.
That's very good. Amy?
I managed to avoid any spoilers going in, apart from all my ghost heads saying, take tissues. I really, really enjoyed it, and I found it very emotional, and it was very rewarding. I felt like someone had sat down, watched everyone go mad over the 2016 version and taken notes of, well, they didn't like that, they wanted more of that, and they missed that, and they wanted this, right, and then put it into a film, and just made it wonderful.
That's a good way of summing it up. I think if I had to describe it, I think first of all, I think we'd have to say it's a really enjoyable film. And I think if you haven't seen it, you should go and see it. I think what's nice is that rather than pretending that time is the same, they've kind of embraced some of those differences, but they've also not made an effort to. I'm going to use the word, Mark, so prepare yourself, to go too woke. Okay. so they've not put things in just for the sake of them.
Yes.
Where they've made changes and made things more modern, it's actually seems to have been done, in a nice way, and they've given nods to things in the right ways. And for me that's really hard to fault then, because I'm like, actually, yes, some of the characters are different, but that's to be expected. But actually, it's just a really charming film, and I really enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it already, we're going to start talking about a lot of detail. So go and watch it in the cinema. I think that is definitely the best place for this. So honestly, I think you'll get the best impact from it, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So go and watch it in the cinema. If you've already seen it, then come and join us as we go into spoilers and talk a little bit more about it. So, to start this off, I guess what I wanted to sort of explain where it starts. For me, I felt like this started very much in a Stranger Things vibe, moving to a sort of Midwest town. It's really barely a town, to be honest. It's more of a village almost. It just happens to have a school, it feels retro in all the right places, but things are a bit more modern. It's got like this interesting timeless quality to it, whilst not having to be in the 90s or noughties. It feels like it would fit in quite nicely. Bobby, how did you think it started, and like did you warm to the setup? It
was a slow burner, actually, wasn't it? the Stranger Things vibe was set because Finn Wolfhard's in it, and if Finn Wolfhard's in anything, then you're suddenly kind of thinking 80s because he's just so synonymous with Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Can I just come back to that? I just really want to mention this. A few years ago, there was an anniversary showing of the original Ghostbusters in cinemas, and because I'd never seen it in a cinema on a big screen as a kid, I wanted to go see it, so we went to see it. And just before the film started, there was a power cut. So it just all sorts of weird things happened. Eventually, they managed to get the thing going, and we watched the film. It was all fine. So, 3 years later, whatever it is, we're in the IMAX in Swiss Cottage, getting ready to watch Ghostbusters Afterlife. Just as the film's about to start, there's a power cut.
Oh, that is spooky.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's spooky as much. It's just Bobby. Don't go to the cinema with Bobby.
Well, no, I mean, that's the only 2 films that have had technical problems of that magnitude my entire life. And don't forget, I've lived in the cinema. Has been the 2 Ghostbusters films. How weird is that?
Bizarre.
They're both at the Swiss Cottage IMAX, though.
No. The other one was at the View in Finchley Road.
Oh, okay.
So literally only a couple hundred meters away from each other. But anyway, there we go. I just wanted to mention that. So it was quite a slow burn start, and I didn't mind that so much because we had these new characters, and I think it just needed the time. We talk about letting characters breathe. We've talked about that many times on this podcast, and I think it did a really good job of that. I imagine it would have disappointed a lot of people, a lot of fans and critics who, maybe a beat for beat of the original, a la Force Awakens, the way that sort of did Star Wars, might have been better suited for a lot of people. But I kind of quite like this being, a bit of a slow burn start. Of the new characters, I mean, obviously, Phoebe was the standout. And what really struck me when I first saw her on screen is she looked like they'd modelled her on the Egon Spengler from the real Ghostbusters cartoon with the hair and everything. She really, really looked like the cartoon character of Egon. But
we'll delve into her a bit more in a minute. But I completely agree. I think the way they've set it up at the start sort of cues you into what's happening and why things, why it's important for them. I feel like that has some strength there, but the pace is a bit slow. Mark, how would you describe it?
Yeah, I guess pretty much like as Bob did, to be honest. I like the opening scene, and I kind of guessed straight away that was Egon as well, and they were very clever with that. So they used a lot of shadow there as well. I'm sure there's a lot of visual effects there to give it the appearance of Harold Ramis as well. I thought the opening scene was really good, really exciting, gets you in it as well. It's funny, at the start I started really enjoying it, and I really enjoyed the characters, and we'll go into individuals later on as well. Mm-hmm. I did feel a little bit that it was just a bit too long in building them up. And normally, when we talk about these things, we do normally moan about character development, and they're not given enough time. I think in this, they've probably got a little bit too much. I was watching it and I was thinking there's a few scenes here they could probably cut. And so it went a little bit too long, but not to the complete detriment of the film. But I did think it's a little bit slow. But then when they get into the Ghostbusters stuff, and I don't think this is a spoiler, when they all realise that Egon was their grandfather, it speeds up a bit then and gets a bit more energy after that. But it's a bit slow to start with, but then after that it really goes off and it's really entertaining as well. Bob, did you want to say something?
But do you think the slow setup and this time spent on the characters was a lot to do with the director? Because Jason Reitman's he's very known. If you think of his films, Juno, etc., he's very into character studies and getting you vested in characters. His films are very, very character driven. Do you think that was obviously was a big effect, right?
Yeah, it's weirdly when I was watching it, it reminded me a little bit. I don't know if you guys have seen. I think he directed it. Up in the Air with George Clooney when he.
Yeah, that was him.
Yeah, that was him. It reminded me a little bit of that because they spend a lot of time at the start of that film with Clooney, and and the way that he sets his films up are actually very similar as well. You get the first sort of half an hour of that is really just all about Clooney. Really, he talks about himself and he goes places. It's very focused on him until they introduce the girl's name, Anna Kendrick, into it as well. So yeah, I think you're right. I think he does let his characters breathe, and that is a status of his films that he does that as well. But a little bit too much in this. But yes, you are right though. Yeah, it's a very you can tell it's a Jason Reitman film. That makes sense when you watch it all the way through with the pacing.
Yeah, I think that's why I was okay with it because along with the recliner at my cinema as well, that's amazing. That's a new concept.
Yeah, I was on a recliner as well.
But because he was directing it and I think he'd co-written it right with his dad. I was expecting that going into the film, so for me, it kind of I was prepared for it to kind of be a bit of a slow first half, shall we say?
I think if you're expecting proton-packed at the start and it all action, that's not the film that this is. It's what you think it's going to be as well. It's very much a character-driven tale, as you said as well. Then with the action in it.
Yeah, it makes sense. Amy, did you find the pace was nice or a bit slow? How did you find it?
I liked the pace because I felt that it was revealing little puzzle bits. We knew what was at the end of the puzzle. We knew that it had been Egon Spengler laying little tips and tricks of how to do this and how to do that through different means. But I liked how they all were being revealed bit by bit, first to Phoebe and then to her mum. And I thought the pace was really good. I thought it built up. I felt that for me, although it was kind of obvious what was happening, there were still some slight surprises of, oh, that's clever how they've done that. Oh, I see how that links in now. Okay. So, yeah, I think it was great. And actually, with cinemas all, gearing up and welcoming people back in, I think this was a great film to reintroduce people back to the cinema with.
Yeah, I guess the thing is, it is a bit of a slow start, but it also settles you in. So it's like you're in a new place with new characters. So we're going to take our time. Obviously, it's a small town, so it needs to feel like it's a small town rather than having a big pace to it. And I do think it did that bit well. I think just the runtime is just quite long. But yeah, no, I think that's fair. Now, we touched on characters a little bit, and I think now we really need to just celebrate some of the successes of the characters. Mark, what were your favourites?
I mean, I think, like everyone else, I just thought that McKenna Grace as Phoebe was just absolutely outstanding. I thought she's a brilliant young actress. When we was chatting on the Discord and that, I said I think she's this generation's Natalie Portman. I can see her having a massively long career in film if that's what she wants. She's already done quite a lot of stuff already. I think she'll win an Academy Award for something as well. I think she's going to be an absolutely massive star. She was absolutely brilliant. She, as Bobby said, she carries the film. She has a charisma and she just makes a film, and I just loved her to bits. And I said, again, when we were chatting about it, I think this is the best new young character in a franchise for a very, very long time. like in that adolescent role as well. I just think she was a revelation in it as well. She was just the geeky kid who can't make friends is a cliche, but she doesn't make it a cliche in this. When she makes a friend, and I've got to say the kid who played podcasts is also, I love that kid. I very much
Logan Kim.
Yeah, I very much got vibes from him of who's the kid in Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom?
Short Round.
Short Round. I got some Short Round. I think they wrote him very much as a homage to Short Round as well. But when she gets a friend, you're really pleased that she gets a friend as well. And we just talked about about the length there, and the length of it is a way to get acquainted with the characters. But it's also to make you falling up with Phoebe straight away because she's just brilliant, and the young actress in it is absolutely fantastic. She does an amazing job. So I would praise her, and definitely podcast my two favourites.
Oh, that's good. Amy, do you have any standouts?
Again, I think Phoebe was brilliant. There actually weren't that many characters in this film. They could have had a whole wealth, like 20, 30 different sorts of people. But actually, it really was just the core of, I guess, what's being built up to be the new Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I mean, I find it interesting. I mean, it was nice that they focused on the kids, and I think that gave it a freshness that I think we would have had problems with if we'd have looked at it in other ways. You know, if they'd have been a little bit older, for example, I think we would probably be like, oh, hang on, what's going on now? It felt really genuine, and I think that's one of the strengths of it. So I think that really helped. But yeah, you're right. It's actually a pretty small cast. Bobby, does anyone else come to mind from your side?
I was a bit worried about Paul Rudd sort of kind of taking things over a bit. I mean, I love Paul Rudd. We all do. World's sexiest guy alive, apparently. The evergreen Paul Rudd. But he was great. I loved his character. And actually, going back to our icebreaker question, I think I would probably be more like him if I was a small town school teacher or teaching kids during summer camp or recess or whatever. I'd be doing exactly the same thing, like Chucky or Child's Play, etc. You lot just get on with that while I go, looking at look into all these weird things that are going on around the town. But I thought he was great. I agree 100% with everything that Mark said about McKenna Grace, so I won't sort of go on about that. I thought Finn Wolfhard was really good. Again, he's another talented young actor. I hope he manages to break free of the Stranger Things. What's the word? I hope he doesn't get typecast. So I'd really, really like to see him. I know this wasn't set in the 80s, but that small town was almost like it was stuck in the 80s. I mean, in school, they actually say it, right?
Still got
it's like, you guys still use VHS. But I really hope we see him in some stuff that means that he doesn't break out.
I think he actually had a hard role in that film because at first you think he's going to be the annoying kid because he can't get reception on his mobile and that sort of thing, can he? And he's moaning, and then he sees the girl, and he's humiliated a little bit at the diner as well, isn't he? As well, when he's trying to talk to her. So I think he had a hard role in that, because you're supposed to dislike him and then like him. I think the way he did it. So I think he had quite a hard role in that, but he does well in it, and his lines just aren't as good as Phoebe's, but he does well as a co-star. I support him. He does well.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Mark, because I do think it's an odd one. He has to be like the foil to Phoebe, and so he doesn't really have the breadth to kind of show what he can and can't do. And I think it's knowingly self-aware about where it is, and that this could be the 80s. And I think it's, there's a few comments in the podcast drops in some now and again that you kind of think to yourself, is that a nod to us, or is that just like, and it does feel like they're aware of that, which is really good. There were some other performances were good, but Callie as the mum, for example, that was Carrie Coon. Again, it was a really good performance, but it just sort of doesn't really stand against Phoebe's standout, really.
She has a nice thing at the end, doesn't she, which we'll get into as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think things do get nicely resolved there, and there's some nice character work with her. So I do think it was a really good performance with her. But
Sorry, go on. Sorry, you're speaking. Sorry, I keep interrupting. I apologise. No, just a random little fact about Carrie Coon, which I didn't even realise until I looked at her on IMDb. She played Approximate Midnight in the Avengers Endgame and also Infinity War, which I did not know that as well. I didn't know that. But now looking at her, and now I see it, but I didn't realise it was her. So yes.
Good spot.
A bit of trivia there. And sorry, I'm going to do this now. Sorry. And then, did anybody clock that Olivia Wilde was Gozer?
No, I didn't spot that.
Tell me who Olivia Wilde is, because I know the name, and that's going to irritate me.
She is an actress who has been in loads of stuff. She was in The OC. She's been in... Oh my God, she's been in loads of films. She's... what else has she been in? She was in...
Olivia Wilde.
Tron as well. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, she was the body of Gozer. I thought I recognised her when I was watching it. And again, I checked on IMDb and internet afterwards, and it was her as well. I thought it was, yeah.
Yeah. She was dating... she dated Jason Sudeikis for
Ted Lasso
about
himself.
9 years, and she dumped him a little while ago for bloody Harry Styles.
Oh, did she? Are they going out, are they?
Yeah.
Wow.
Her toy boy.
Yeah, when they get married, she's going to be Olivia Wilde Styles.
Yes. Wild Styles.
I tell you what, though, she's gone. The first film that she directed was a little film called. I will look it up and I will let you know. But it's a really, really good watch. Really, really good. I know.
Again,
did she not direct that? I tell you what, she did direct recently. The film with the Booksmart. Have you seen that comedy about the two schoolgirls who end up on this mental night out? Okay,
No.
look it
How's
up.
that work?
It was her directorial debut, and it's absolutely brilliant. Like, go check it out.
she's also...
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to deviate as well. Sorry. She's also in a cracking comedy called Drinking Buddies as well. If you ever get a chance to watch that, it's a very sweet film called Drinking Buddies, which is well worth a watch as well. And I'll stop
Nice.
talking.
Oh no, that's given me a whole lot more information about her. Actually, I think that's a good grounding. I've got some reading to do and some watching to do. So,
Yeah, I mean, she was uncredited.
Yes, she was.
That role. So
Yeah, but I recognised her straight away. I thought, was that Olivia Wilde? And it was, so yeah.
Yeah, well done. That's very cool. What did we think about the plot, Amy?
I enjoyed it because it started off with, here's a great big problem that's been left unsolved. So it was almost like that, a kind of murder mystery without so much of the mystery, except we were onlookers being able to watch everyone else try and solve the mystery. I thought it was convincing in so much as we know that Egon is very clever and he likes chess and he likes spores, molds and fungus, which was beautifully alluded to in the film as well. And so, yeah, he would have been very clever about how he put things in. One thing I quite liked about it is how they made out for the first half of the film that he was a bit of a rotten egg.
Yeah.
Because that would have immediately made a lot of people go, oh no, you can't do that.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
thought
happy with that.
yeah.
And actually how they then turned it around was really nicely done. And it built in that whole thing of, even if we are cross with each other, we can still come back together because we go a long way back.
No, I think that's a good description of it, really, Amy. Bobby, what did you think of the story?
I mean, the story was structured like it was like a mystery. You know what I mean? It was, and Amy again hit the nail on the head earlier when she said that she didn't mind a slow burn because there were lots of little reveals and we got little clues and we were able to kind of go on that journey with the characters to work out what was going on. Which makes it very, very different from the original, because the original was just an out and out sort of action comedy for all intents and purposes, wasn't it? So yeah, that was nice. I think the only thing for me was that overall there's a little bit of a hollowness to it. It's very melancholy as a film. And I think that's partly because of them transporting out of New York to some town in the middle of nowhere. And that's the only downside for me, is that it lost some of the sense of peril from all this stuff that's going on underground that could end the world. It's like, well, I mean, there's only about 20 people around that hellhole, so who cares? So yeah. But, otherwise it was nice. And the more I've had time to reflect on it since seeing it, the whole film is, as it says at the very end, for Harold. At the end of it is one big love letter to him. It really is. and there's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm sure we'll shortly discuss how we all felt about that. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I'd really, really love to see it again. I can't wait to see it again, actually. And I'll definitely, when it comes out to own, I will be buying it 100%. It's definitely one for the collection.
Yeah. Amy, you had a question?
Well, I'm sorry. I've had some time to think. And going back to the characters question, I've thought of a character that I really appreciated. And that was the reanimation of Egon as a spirit, in terms of the way that they had him be a lamp that was moving and directing and interacting with somebody, and how they had him moving things around just as a kind of ghost that you can't see. What do you call them? Poltergeist. And I actually really appreciated that little bit of interaction, because I think initially it brought some fear, but then it started representing warmth and love and family, if that made any sense.
He starts playing chess, doesn't he, as well, with Phoebe, which is quite nice as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
He gets very cross. He's like, boom, you are down. In fact, I thought that was the most un-Egon thing in the whole film, was when he smashed the playing piece off.
No, it's nice. Mark, what did you think of the story?
Yeah, I thought it was nice. As I say, much like as Amy and Bobby have said, it is a homage to Harold. There's, I don't think it's a film with many surprises in it. There's nothing particularly there's no real twist in it or anything like that. You kind of, more than the characters do. So it's one of them films when you're waiting for the characters to catch up more than you finding out things as well. And as soon as you kind of you worked out, you've been there all the time, then you realise why now as well. The only drawback, and I don't know if you want to talk about this maybe later on, is that I would have liked to have seen more of the original cast in it. Wherein, so we get that scene when Phoebe's speaking to Ray when she has her one phone call in jail, and we get a bit of backstory from him about what they've all been doing in those years. And I'm just a touch disappointed we didn't see a little bit more of that. I would have liked to have seen. You ain't got to do a whole part of it, and maybe they do that in another film if this one's successful enough. But I would have liked to have seen what happened to them in the intervening years, instead of just getting exposition from Ray on the call. And if I'm going to be ultra critical, I did sort of think that the end fight scene was a bit of a damp squib, unfortunately, as well. I thought it started well when they see Gozer and she's telling the jokes. I think that bit really works, but then I think the final battle doesn't work at all. It's probably the biggest drawback of the film. I think it's a bit anticlimactic at the end, and I think it's a bit not very good, unfortunately. But it doesn't spoil the film, but it's a bit of a disappointing finish in my opinion.
So I think we'll definitely come back to that. I agree. I think honestly the plot was really quite formulaic, because it was a replay of what had happened in the original Ghostbusters, and once you'd worked that out, I think it made sense. You were kind of like, oh, okay, I can see what's going to happen now. I don't think it detracted from it. I think it just it meant that that hollowness is something that if you wanted more from this, then you would be a bit disappointed. But I think for a lot of fans, they really were looking for that they wanted more of the same. And I think in that respect, some of it was really ticked the boxes for them. So I think that kind of worked for me. But yeah, it's funny because we'll talk about some of the flaws. But one of the things that interests me is I watched a review of it by Mark Kermode, who does a lot of film reviews, and he just ripped into it. And he
is off my Christmas card list, I'm afraid.
He absolutely ripped into it, and I was surprised because I was like, I kind of assumed that he would be a bit more complimentary about it, but the comments that he made were absolutely right, in that apart from some of this, and this is the thing where I think he was wrong, apart from some of the standout performances from some of the other characters, it tried to deliver you the same feeling as some of the originals. I feel like it went further than just that, but I do feel like it felt like a swan song rather than its own thing. And I think that's difficult because actually that's what the fans were asking for. They were asking for a swan song. They were asking for, I just want to feel more like Ghostbusters again. They weren't asking for something new and fresh. They were asking for the same thing. And so I think actually, when you think about it that way, I do think that the film has actually done really well because it's kind of managed to give you new characters, new possibilities, but it's told the same story, the same way. And I honestly think that was the way they could make it work. But yeah, so I think things like, for example, the Stay Puft Men, the little ones, it was a delightful scene, but it wasn't needed, and it was in there for fan service, and it didn't add anything to that particular area.
I did like it.
This is the thing. The reason it worked though was because they did it well, and everyone was just thought, "Oh yeah, that's brilliant," and it kind of gave you this nostalgia whilst it was doing something slightly different. And I think that's probably what that's to sum up its flaws. That would probably be how I would sum it up. Is that it is playing on the nostalgia. And I think it's hard for it not to, but I don't think that there are many parts where we kind of feel like, oh yeah, come on, get on, and blah blah blah. It didn't feel that way, and I think that's why I think it's done better than like a proper cookie cutter. I will do exactly what the fans have asked for thing. So yeah, what were its problems, Amy? Did you have any problems with it, or did you just love it?
I just really enjoyed it. I didn't have... Actually, no, there was one character that I didn't understand them being there. So in defence of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Mini-Men, they were required because there had to be something that prevented them from catching Muncher. So they were required to get in the way of stuff, and they were required to make it difficult to defeat Gozer at the end. And they were required for that wonderful callback to podcast being covered in marshmallows. And just cementing the fact that he was the new... Dan Aykroyd character.
Yep.
But the one that annoyed me, and I didn't really understand why they even gave him lines really, was the police officer, the sheriff.
Yeah.
Because they didn't go anywhere with it. They just painted him as this really can't be bothered, irritated man whose, again, the function was to prevent them from having access to all the stuff. But unlike previous bad people that have come up, and again, like in Ghostbusters 1984, you had the mayor that was getting everyone's way, and then God love Walter Peck. This guy just was useless, and really the only reason that scene was there was to prevent them from getting hold of stuff. There was a little cameo by Dan Aykroyd's daughter as the one who's sort of like turns her nose up at them. That's about it. But yeah, for me that was a bit annoying.
Yeah, I didn't understand how they got away with when they're trying to capture the first ghost. They kind of like destroy lots of property, but they just sort of got away with it, and they just got signed out. And I don't know if it's because they're underage or.
Oh, I think the mum had to pay a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, but she hasn't got any money though, is she? That's the thing. There's no.
No, that's it.
So yeah, that's kind of like a plot thread that's just kind of left. That's a little bit. Yeah, actually, I think about it. You bang on. So yeah.
No, that's a fair description. Yeah, it's very fair flaw, and it didn't feel like there were many consequences to the actions.
Yeah,
it did feel like they could do what they liked, and I think that was a bit of a pity because I know what they were trying to set up. They were trying to make it sound like they had to, they were trying to work against the town that they had come in and all that kind of stuff. But because they hadn't really focused on that enough, it just ended up being waved on because actually they got quite a lot of plot to get through that at that point, so they couldn't dwell on that. I guess, Bobby, what were there any annoyances for you? Anything that kind of got on your nerves?
Not really. Just I've been trying to. Well, you guys have been trying to think of anything that's super annoyed me about it, but for once, I've got nothing to say in that regard. There was nothing super annoying at all. We didn't mention Muncher before, but
No.
Because in the trailers you only catch a fleeting glimpse of him, and I thought that they'd brought Slimer back, and obviously it isn't, because Muncher's got like 6 arms or something and eats metal. But I thought he was a really cool ghost. I love the bit where he just turns around at him and starts spitting the metal back out like bullets. It was so cool. But yeah, nothing really that annoyed me. I think. Yeah, no, there was nothing that really annoyed me. Sorry.
Voice of Muncher, Josh Gad.
Oh.
So now we know what happens when snowmen melt into puddles. They turn into Muncher.
That's it, Olaf from Frozen.
I've got 2 little grumbles. Sorry.
Go on, Mike.
So I didn't understand the purpose of the J.K. Simmons character. If it's just to be a cameo, that makes total sense as well. Was it Ivo Shandor? I didn't understand like why he was in there. Like he's basically like in the coffin, then he comes back and then he's ripped in half by Gozer. Unless I missed something of what he was. He's the one who created the town, wasn't it? Go on, Amy.
Yeah.
You got your hand up. Go on.
So there are 2 things. He created the town, but also he was part of the building firm that created the big apartment building in New York where Dana Barrett lived, using the same materials. And the unravelling is he's done all that because he was trying to actively welcome Gozer. So that's why they've got that character. But you're right, there was no real essence to him other than him standing up being ripped in half, which was quite funny. I didn't realise it was J.K. Simmons until Lovely John had put in the notes in case he joined us that it was. However, I strongly suspect that there will be deleted scenes that include him.
I think you're bang on. That to me looked like that was edited. That was like something that maybe was cut for being too long, or I feel like there's a subplot there because he's in it and he's out of it again. I think you're right. I think there will be some deleted scenes or a subplot there that was cut, because I think he had more to do than that. It didn't really. It felt a bit jarring to me with him in there. But
What was your second?
The second one is, I guess, kind of going back to the last battle and stuff. Like, I just don't think there was enough stakes in it as well. Like, it's supposed to be like the end of the world, but we don't see the end of the world like in turmoil. Like, we get that little scene when you see like the ghost running around, and then there's like that corpse thing who gets a coffee in the shop, and I think there's probably a couple of other bits. There's Muncher as well, but you don't see like the town like being flooded with ghosts or anything like that, which I would have liked just a bit more scale with it, or if it was, or if the ghosts had moved to other parts of America as well. It felt a bit self-contained, which is fine, but I just don't see. I don't think we saw enough ghosts creating havoc in that, So I would like to do a bit more like that. And then Gozer doesn't really do anything. She, like, Olivia Wilde, sort of sits there as the queen with the 2 dogs, which is fine. But we don't really see her power. She doesn't actually really do anything. And it's the streams just always kind of... I think she's just defeated far too easily. I would have liked her to have done more. Like, maybe, kill someone off to make her, a real bad guy, or, a real bad... Or the baddie. She was sort of there,
We never really got to see what her end game was.
No, exactly.
So you just got this. Oh, we've opened up this portal again, and you're going, well, that's great. I've seen Gozer before. What will happen? What are they trying to do? And
is she trying to rule or what? Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I do think one of the things that's frustrating is, if they'd have paced it slightly differently, they could have. There was time for them to give her, some more breadth and, maybe start destroying stuff or something, but just give it a bit more consequence so that way you'd kind of go, oh, yeah. But you didn't get that at all because actually we were too busy going, hey, we've got the original gang coming back and, hey, let's get ready for this. And which, I did somewhat distract from that.
But it's really funny because we're now saying I really wish that there'd been more build up and there'd been more stuff going on and more carnage and all these things happening. That's basically what happens in the second half of the 2016 film that no one liked.
Yes.
So that everyone was given that and they didn't want it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I just wanted higher stakes for the villain to be a bit more of a villain. You know, I just don't think she does anything. That's the problem. You get the dogs and stuff. I mean, like even when like Paul Rudd's character and the mum become the dogs, there's a funny bit, you know, when they go and do it and that. But even they, as the dogs, don't really do anything. They're just kind of there and they rescue their mum. You know, unless I'm missing, like, I'm forgetting parts of it as well. I don't think there's even much of a scene with them chasing the dogs or the dogs fighting or anything like that. I just felt there should have been more, and that could have included the original cast a lot more as well.
Yeah. So what did you think about the end, Mark?
I'll let Bobby go because Bobby's got his hand up.
Oh, okay.
Just quickly, actually, I just, a lot of what Mark said, but I've just realised what my gripe was. My gripe was that there was more sense of peril in the original at the end on top of the building, even though it was a lot funnier and, you know, you knew that they weren't going to die. But anyway, this Gozer thing was kind of quite terrifying because she was an unknown quantity and she was really, you know, knocking them back all the time. And it was like, I mean, these guys could really die here. And with this, there was absolutely none of that whatsoever. Absolute zero. And that was the thing. I just thought, they've done a Force Awakens. They brought a Death Star back, but the Death Star was absolute crap this time. Like, what was the point of all of that? So yeah, that was a big gripe for me. Sense of peril through the whole thing, actually. Just wasn't really there at all. And I just want to say it now. The 2016 Ghostbusters, I think those girls did a great job with what they were given. And I kind of quite like that film. It's my guilty pleasure. When it's on, I will just leave it on and I will watch it. And I do find it funny in parts. And also, it's got the Hemsworth. So,
Alex, is this going to be my block Bobby from future episodes? Can you do that?
No, I can't find the button. I was going to put his character as my who I would be. Like I would be the Chris Hemsworth, but actually his character is so like stupid inside. It's just nothing there, and I was just like, no, I can't do it. I don't care if I'm that hot. I need something in between my head.
On that point, can we just go to someone who's an expert, Amy, as a member of the UK Ghostbusting Society or whatever it is you're called? What's the official view of the 2016 Ghostbusters from you?
There's
very
no
nice
official
ladies
view.
and gentlemen
There are a
geeks.
lot of people who don't like it. A lot of people. And I think a lot of people feel so self-conscious that they felt personally attacked by it. But that's to do with how they feel about themselves, I think, more than the film.
Okay.
And with that, I've probably just been ejected from the UK Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
That's right, we'll join a new one, be Renegade. There you go. We're a splinter organisation, we're a start-up. There we go. Actually,
Sorry, anyway, Mark, you were about to tell us what you thought of the ending.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Just one little thing as well, but which they've addressed, I think, in interviews. We don't hear a lot about who the mother is of Egon's daughter.
That's right. We know it's not Janine because when she appears, she clearly has never met her before.
No.
But it's nice to know Janine was still involved. Again, gives us potential for something to be mentioned in a potential sequel.
Yeah, like I did think that's why they did it, because I was sort of expecting like Egon and Janine to got married a little bit happy ever after, a bit like Venkman and Dana did as well, but I didn't do that. So again, you may keep it open for another character. That's a good point. I would have liked to have seen a bit more of Annie Potts as Janine. She does get another scene at the end as well, but I sort of I would like to a bit more of her as well. So the end. So I said the end battle is a bit disappointing, but it is good. But when they turn up, and it's what everyone wants, when Dan Aykroyd turns up and Ernie Hudson and oh my god, and and Bill Murray, it's what you want, and they're in the suits and they do their thing. And it was good. I would have liked a bit more of that. That's only I just think they could have done more with them. I would have liked some scenes of them teaching the kids how to use the equipment. The kids seem to learn how to use the equipment very, very quickly. It's about and I know that I don't get me wrong, and I know that that Phoebe's a genius, so she gets it as well. But they all seem to be really experts on the machinery straight away, which is a little bit. So I thought there could have been a bit there of of the original showing them how to use stuff. I think that might have helped a little more, in the last battle scene as well. But there's some nice wording with them. I don't know about anybody else, but I got very emotional at the. So before I go into that, does anybody want to talk about the final battle at all before we get into the very last bit? Or is there any comment before I talk about the last bit?
What do you think, Bobby?
What, the final battle, or when the Ghostbusters all turned up?
Yeah, I was just going to say,
yeah.
Do you want to talk about that yet, or do you want to talk about the Battle of Gozer? Any questions on that?
No,
let's talk about
the Battle of Gozer was FUBAR. The best bit of the final battle is when Winston, Ray, and the other one turn up. Peter. So why am I calling them by their first names?
Yeah.
When the original three turn
friends.
up, and then it's kicked up another, because then suddenly the humour comes back in, because Bill Murray can do no wrong in my eyes. And then it's kicked up a notch when Egon's ghost basically is holding the gun proton thing with what is wrong with me tonight, honestly. But can I remind you that on Tangents, when we did Mastermind last Christmas, Ghostbusters was my special
subject. Yeah.
And I should have won that, or at least come second behind Amy, if it wasn't for Mark and John's weird marking system. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
Well, Amy's got to defend her title New Year's Day. Anyway, we'll get to that though.
Oh
God, yeah,
got to
good
choose
point.
another film.
So that's where I got the most emotion from this film, actually, thinking back. So when those three turned up, it was like, I was like forward in my seat and I was like, yes, punch in the air. And then when we see the ghost hands on the proton thing with Phoebe, and then it's revealed that it's Egon, that was it. I just started crying. I had tears running out of my eyes and I was like blubbing like a big baby. It was so nice. And I love the way that they just ended it all of a sudden with the 4 heralds and then went up to the stars. Mm. Yeah. I was just wiping my eyes
I did get very choked at that. Yeah. I thought that was beautiful, the way they did that, the way that he gets his hands on the on the proton to help Phoebe as well. I thought that was really, really cleverly done. I thought that was brilliant,
Mark,
the way they did that.
Did you cry more, less, or the same amount as when you cried during Avengers Endgame when Cap picked up the Thor's hammer?
Well, you see, that was tears of joy. That's different. So
was it though? Because really, I was sat next to you and you were crying like a little baby.
No, that was crying because I was so excited at him doing it, and I was crying. And I was crying somewhere else as well because that scene was just so good as well. But I digress. No, I was actually quite emotional about this, and I love Harold Ramis anyway, not just because of Ghostbusters, but I'm a big fan of his work. And the career that he had. He wrote some amazing films, and like Multiplicity is a brilliant film that he directed as well. And I'm a massive Harold Ramis fan. I was gutted when he passed away, but this is I just thought it was just beautifully done. The way that they do he's helping Phoebe with the proton pack is gorgeous. And then there's the shot of the 4 of them when Egon's Egon's spirit is with the 4 of them as well. That's done. It was all just really beautifully done. And then when the mum gets her moment and she realises that he wasn't a bad dad, he was just protecting everyone, and they have a hug and he hugs Phoebe as well. All of that was just really lovely done, and it didn't feel intrusive. I'm sure that they asked for permission or the blessing of the Ramis family as well. And it was so sort of tastefully done, and it was just really lovely sort of tribute to him. Really, it was the way it was done. I loved it. So yeah, and I got quite choked. I have to be honest. Yeah,
I like the fact that they didn't make his ghost talk, because that added to the emotional impact and the gravitas, and we didn't end up in Uncanny Valley like we did with Peter Cushing's resurrection in Rogue One.
Yeah. Amy, what did you think?
I thought it was lovely. I may get emotional now, but not for the reasons you're thinking. So just pre-warning everyone. I think it worked and it was very emotional for different reasons. It was emotional for kids coming to watch Ghostbusters for the first time because they're like, oh, it's the kid's family member. Oh, okay, that's sad, that's nice. Okay, that's fair enough, that's fine. It worked for people who love Ghostbusters because obviously it's our missing member of the team. But there's something that people don't talk about, which is eventually our parents pass away. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's right.
And the thing is, when a parent passes away, as much as you want to, you won't be able to hug them again. And so that cuts quite close. Because, I don't know if any of you guys have lost your parents, obviously I know about Alex.
No, fortunately I haven't.
But that's something that really struck home, I think, for a lot of the people in the audience, because it's that last hug that we'll never get. And the fact that they in the film get to have it, and then that moment passes and Egon heads up into the skies, becomes stardust. It's really beautifully done. And yeah, very touching, very powerful for lots of different reasons.
Yeah, I couldn't put it better myself, actually. I think that's a really good
that's well said.
way of describing it. And honestly, I think the fact that it finishes with for Harold is just sums up this and the film, and I think it's really nice. So yeah, I think that's very important. So one thing that we do need to address is that there were mid and post credit scenes. They were going full Marvel, I think, by the sounds of it. So yeah, I mean, do any of you want to describe them or talk about them? Mark, did you watch both of them? Yeah.
Wait, so the first one is the scene with Annie. Oh no, the first one, sorry, is Venkman and Dana. Sorry, excuse me. Sorry,
that's right. Yeah.
Yes, and they do a nice little homage to the scene in the first Ghostbusters when Venkman's doing the experiment with the bloke and the girl, and they have to guess what's on the card as well. And that was nicely done. Because I was thinking, where is Sigourney Weaver in all this film? And then, because I was watching, I was thinking, we've got there's no Sigourney so far. And then the credits come up and says, and Sigourney, with Paul Rudd and Sigourney Weaver. I'm like, well, where is she? And then they do that scene as well. So, it's a nice little cameo. I think you said it might have been like a deleted scene or saying added, as a little cameo as well. So we didn't see her for long, but it was a nice little thing to have. So that was quite nice. And then we'll talk about the second one in a minute after everyone else has had their say. But it was a nice little one. Yeah.
I did notice from looking on the IMDb, because that's where I live when we do this podcast, that I didn't realise that Sigourney Weaver, on the credits it says, and Sigourney Weaver. It doesn't, unless you look at it, list her name, which is Dana Barrett Venkman.
Yes.
And I didn't realise until this evening that presumably they did get married.
Yes.
Didn't know that. So that's been a nice little Easter egg for me today.
Yeah, I took them as... when I saw the scene, I took that as them had been together since, 89, that sort of thing. So it was nice, yeah.
But again, it's not something that's fleshed out or discussed at any point. It's just something that... Well, the thing is, you assume it, but actually, I didn't assume it because the Ghostbusters is a bit throwaway. So I think in terms of that follow-on story. So
it was quite funny in the cinema that somebody, when Dana Barrett appeared, somebody went, "She's got old," and I felt like turning around going, "Have you seen Bill Murray?"
Yeah, Bill Murray's got very old,
and the others.
Yeah, exactly.
How old are they all now, anyway? I'm just looking at IMDb. We're talking. So Bill,
old enough to know better.
Well, yeah, but
Paul Rudd is 52, by the way.
That's
Shut
ridiculous.
Up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Bill Murray is 71.
Yeah.
So Bill Murray's like my dad's age.
I think the thing is, you've got to remember that the movies make people timeless in a way, and so I think that's super difficult because, of course, you know, we age. That's what being human is.
Funny thing is that Ernie Hudson is 75 years old, but he looks way younger than the rest of them.
Is he really?
So does.
So he does.
Honestly.
Yeah.
It's the blessing of being a black man is that you generally have genes or something, but you
I was going to say,
well.
is it appropriate that we can say the black don't crack? Is that all right? Is that?
Yeah, I give you permission, even though I'm not actually ethnically black.
Are you mixed race? Is that fair to say?
I am.
It's the politically correct. Yes,
you can say that. Yeah, I'm not going to accuse you of don't be woke, man. I don't even know what it means.
Yes, yeah, black don't crack. That is true. To be fair, so yes, he looks fantastic, by the way, for 75.
He does. Yeah. He looks.
I love that mid-credit scene with Sigourney and Bill. I thought it was great, really, and immediately you could tell that they were married. I didn't realise what Amy pointed out, that she was credited as being Barrett Venkman. I didn't know that, but the second they both came on screen, the chemistry between them and the fact that she was sitting on the other side of his electricity zapping mental machine from the first film, I was just like, oh, that's so cool, they're married, that's so nice. And it was really nice to see that Winston actually is a successful businessman who's basically been using his wealth to fund Ray's store of the occult, and also to keep the old firehouse going. Although there is a continuity error there, because if I'm not mistaken, Ray's store is probably somewhere in Manhattan or in the suburbs of, but he goes, oh, you should see, the old place is a Starbucks now, but obviously it's totally not.
Because he kept it up, I agree.
He's kept it going.
The other nice thing about that end scene is the fact that Janine Melnitz is there. We can then infer that she's there because she handles all of the Spengler accounts. So we can infer from that he's now going to cover the cost of the farm, where the dirt farm, and help out the Spenglers now as well, because he can. And I think that's really nice too.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a bit of Wolf of Wall Street vibe coming off of him a bit. I don't know. It's good that it is great that he's done well. I'm super happy for him. But then you do kind of go, what he must have done something like. But of course he was a banker, so that's shady in its own way, isn't it?
Bitcoin.
But yeah, exactly. Well, they don't say Bitcoin. I think they're talking about a traditional banker who just makes loads of money. And basically puts their life on hold for however many years, and then eventually retires with their sort of 6 or 7 figure sum or whatever it is. So so it's kind of super interesting that they decided that's the kind of retcon to explain how it's all worked. So I do find that interesting. And again, it felt very much like it's like, hey, so we're going to now. This is the bit where we set everything up for the next one. And I don't know how I felt about that, because actually I didn't feel like I needed that. I feel like you could have just as easily taken that out, and it wouldn't have harmed or not explained anything. I think it would have been very well just to be left out.
Just confirm, I think we need the end scene, but I don't think we need another film.
Oh, I'm politely disagree.
On that note, I'm not sure we need another. I'm not sure we're going to get another film, because on a $75 million budget, as of today, it's stalled at the box office. It's only on 115 million, and I'm not sure that's going to be enough for Sony to greenlight another one if it doesn't climb much further than that.
I think it will make a fortune on home release. I think it will make a fortune. I can see, because of the way COVID is and that sort of thing, and that I can see this making a load of money on like a Netflix or like in DVD rental sales and that sort of thing as well. I think it'll make a lot of money, to be honest with you. It's made 60 million so far, apparently.
I think it's actually done quite respectively. I think the main thing is the US market is all over the place at
Yes.
the moment, and I think that's hurting a lot of movies that perhaps should have done better. And I think actually when you think about it in that context, I think in the US, I think it's done okay. And I think internationally it's done well enough. I don't think it's done amazingly. I mean, this was against Dune, for example.
Yeah.
So Dune came out just before this, and Bond as well, which is done very well. So when you think about the competition, and I think honestly, when this does go to the home streaming market, there'll be a pretty sizable chunk. They'll maybe it'll go to Amazon or something, and they'll pay quite well for this kind of thing. So yeah, honestly, I think this still can do pretty well.
I'm just checking Wikipedia. Oh, sorry, Alex, interrupt you. Sorry, I'm just checking Wikipedia now. Obviously, the bastion of accuracy, but the budget was 75 million, and then the box office at the moment, after only being released on the 19th of December, is $115.8 million. So obviously, you got to put in marketing as well. So I reckon overall it costs about 150 million to make, with the marketing as well, roughly, because normally the budget of the film is normally the same as the budget as the marketing as well. Although I don't think they've spent that as much marketing as they did. So I reckon it's about 120 million. I reckon they've done. It's on 115.8. So it's going to make a profit. So
yeah,
I do think it will find itself.
Its way.
Yeah, I do think it will find its a bigger audience when it's released on streaming or on rental and Blu-ray and all that as well. I think it'll make a lot of money. I think it'll be a decent profit. And I actually, are we going to talk about it now if we feel they want a second film? Yeah. Does anyone want to put the case of not having one versus Anne? Because I'm the camp that I do want another one. Shall I put my reasons as to why? Or
go on.
In all honesty, I like the last scene of Winston when he's bankrolled in it, which is great. I just think if they did another one, it just might give the older characters another chance to maybe do a bit more next time. And then if Bill Murray really doesn't want to do another one again, they can kill him off or he can be a ghost or whatever. And that, I just think that would be a nice, if the start of the film or a bit of the film was a bit more of them. And plus, I just want to see Phoebe again as well. I think that she was such a great character. I think it would be a shame if she was just in this film. And I like Finn, as we talked about as well, the brother as well. I love podcasts. I just think there's a bit of potential there for them to do another one with over the younger cast, with maybe the older ones sort of chaperoning them there. I think there's enough there for a second film. And I just really love I really just love the new characters. Really, I think they deserve another film. I would definitely want to see another film out of this. But I'm happy to not back any.
What do you think?
I don't think we need another film because everybody loved this film, or most people, apart from Mark Commode, loved the film because of all the shoutbacks to the original. We've done the shoutbacks to the original now. We don't need any more. And it would seem silly to go, let's just throw everybody back out again so we can have everyone all together. There are a number of different Ghostbuster comics that have got different crews. There's a wheelchair user, there's a girl with blonde hair, there's loads of different iterations of it, and they could pick up on any one of those, but I don't think it reached the universal appeal that the originals have done. And I think although it's canon graphic novel wise, I don't think it will translate as popularly to film as people want to. If we're currently questioning how much money this one has made, and this was a fantastic homage, I don't think we need another one.
I wonder whether it should be a TV series, whether it should be a Disney Plus or I don't know, Prime series or something, because
I don't think they'll do that.
I think the thing is the budgets could be more restrained. They have more time for characters. They can still do CGI and they can still do some of the spooky stuff. The only challenge is they'd have to decide whether they're going to put aside that post-credit scene where they kind of have spelled out what they'd like to do, which is go back to New York. And I don't know that with doing that with those characters may not work, but doing it with a different set could work. So I don't know. Bobby, any thoughts?
At this very point in time, I'm kind of I'm not gagging for a sequel, but if there is one, I'd be happy about it. I don't think the original guys need to come back. Neither do I think they will. I think the only one who would be Ernie Hudson, and possibly Dan Aykroyd. I can't see Bill Murray coming back again.
No, I don't think so.
But I think if they're going to continue the story, they need to continue with these characters, or, as Alex was saying, I could actually see Ghostbusters having life as a TV series and maybe doing what Star Wars is doing. Next year, guys, starting from this coming month, we've got we've got Book of Boba Fett, and then in 2022, we've got Andor, Obi-Wan, and then The Mandalorian coming back. So Star Wars is going all out with TV shows, and there's no reason why you couldn't have a Ghostbusters kind of connected TV universe, kind of spinning off in different directions, having ghostbusting units in different parts of the world, and then, you can have you can create a lot of diversity within the characters and so on. There's quite a rich sort of, and from the comics as well, that Amy was saying, is that I think there's a lot of material that they could sort of plunder there, but whether they go ahead and do that or not and start developing that sort of thing is another thing. But yeah, I mean, I could see a sequel with these characters, and then maybe Winston, who's bankrolling everything, kind of being like a mentor to the new crew.
Nice, I like that.
That then sets up a trilogy, because you could have that then becomes the middle one where they're sort of finding their feet and then becoming the new Ghostbusters crew, and then obviously you then have a third one after that to complete the set. And hopefully they don't do a Rise of Skywalker with it.
No promises.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of possibility, but obviously it's going to be down to Sony and the studio. Obviously they've got the cash to do it. It's just whether they've got the will to, and someone can come with a good enough concept. But I would actually prefer to see it as a TV show. And if that does really well after a season, that they then start to spin it off in different directions with different ghostbusting crews around the world, I think that'd be really cool.
Sony doesn't have a great record with streaming, does it?
No.
So I think that's that's the big problem. Like, it's a lot easier if you're, associated with Disney, for example. You can put things on Disney Plus, and even Netflix, is an option. But yeah, I mean, I guess Amazon's the dark horse on that. If you can get them interested in something, they don't care about what studio you're on. So that might work. Interesting.
Is Jeff Bezos a Ghostbusters fan?
Yeah.
Good question. I think on that note, we'll have to call it a night.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed our little roundup of Ghostbusters Afterlife and what we thought of it. If you've got comments, please send them to us. You can find us on Play Pause Turn at Twitter. You can also find us individually. At Alex Hansford is me. Amy.
I'm at Awakey.
Bobby.
At It's Bobby Revilla.
And Mark, you're in the real world, aren't you?
I don't do Twitter. It's toxic.
That's
been banned too many times.
That's a good reason. I was meant to be queuing you in for the new Matrix film. That was what it was.
Yeah.
So you've taken the blue pill.
Yeah. I've no desire to be part of Twitter. It's a cesspit.
That's fair enough. But you can, yes, you do reach out to us and let us know your thoughts, and we will see you next time. So this has been Play Pause Turn. Thank you for listening.